It says, this is lesson 3-4. Lesson 3-4 is really nothing new, I promise you. So this is kind of everything that we have learned about y equals mx plus b, find your m, find your b, what does it all mean? That's what this lesson is. It's just taking everything that we've learned so far and applying it to some story problems and writing equations, okay? So nothing new here. If you like puzzles, if you're kind of that brain type that likes to do puzzles, then this will make sense to you, because in this lesson, they give you some pieces of the puzzle and you got to find what pieces are missing. And that's basically what this section is, okay? All right. It says Eric wants to buy a new mountain bike that costs $250. He already has saved $120 and plans to save $20 each week from the money he earns for mowing lawns. He thinks he will have enough saved after 7 weeks. So let's look at this. Somebody tell me what you put in the box underneath 1. Micah?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Casey?
Hold on. 180.
No. Somebody else want to try? Caitlin? How much?
240.
No. He doesn't double it every week. How much does he put in each week? How much is his bank account going to grow from week 0 to week 1? No, it's not going to grow 60. It's going to grow $20. So how much is he going to have after week 1? No, not 120 times 20. There we go. 140. Catch. Everybody gets 1, but you got to answer a question right to get it. All right. 140. Why? Because he started with 120, and it tells us that each week he adds $20 to his account. And if he does that each week, how much, Maddie R, how much does he have under week 2? 160, 189. Brady, how about under week 3? 180. Everybody's going to get a chance. Are you ready?
Wow, big quarterback.
Telling you what, the Indianapolis Colts are going to be calling. They are. It's going to happen. All right. So with this information, somebody that has not gotten candy yet, tell me, what is my M for this story?
I don't have any.
Jace? 20. Good. All right. You trust me? Coming in.
They're gonna be calling soon.
It's happening. All right. Somebody else tell me, what is my B here that hasn't gotten candy yet? Dayton? No. Corbin? No. No. You've gotten candy. You've gotten candy. Caitlin, have you? Okay, go ahead. No, that's after 3 weeks. Remember what the B is, Maylee? 120. Your B is your beginning. How much did he begin his bank account with? He began with 120. All right, Maylee, you're the most challenging one of the day. I got this. Oh, Jace, seriously, we do not intercept. No, sir, that was right in the basket. Now Jace has to give you his candy. All right. With an M and a B, can we write an equation? Yes, we can. We can write an equation. Y equals our 20, which is our change every week, times the number of weeks we do this, plus the amount we started with. That's our Y equals MX plus B. Can we graph this? We sure can. We can begin with our B of 120. And then we're going to rise 20 every week. I don't really like the way this graph is numbered. I don't mean I don't like the way the book did it. I mean, when I'm actually going to go to try to graph this, I'm not loving the way it's all kind of sectioned, because what's this? If I was to number this one, what would it be? No. No, this one's kind of difficult. If you're not sure, add the 2 together and divide by 2. And the reason I'm dividing by 2 is because it covers 2 boxes. So if I add 180 and 120 and get 300 and then divide by 2, what's half? 150. Okay, so going up by 20 is kind of difficult because my boxes go up by 30. But what I can do is I've got a nice point here that lines up with a nice point here. So I'm going to use the point 3,180, and I'm going to graph a point at, and I know this is 3 because it's halfway between 2 and 4. So I'm going to graph the point 3,180. Okay. Now, and the reason I did that, like I said, is because I had the point 3,180 right in front of me. It was an easy point to graph because it lined up really nicely with the numbers on the graph I was given. All right, so with that, I can connect the 2 points, and there's my graph, okay? Now, the last bit of this question says, or wants to know, is he gonna have enough after 7 weeks? Well, you can do this a couple of different ways. One of them, which we're not gonna do, and I'll just tell you what it is, you could actually extend this table out. We're not gonna do this. And you could go 4, 5, 6, 7, and you could fill in all of this. We're not gonna do that, okay? Because what if they ask you after 20 weeks? I certainly don't want to add 20 boxes to my table. So we're going to do it mathematically. It wants to know, will we have enough money after 7 weeks? Your X and your Y here, which one stands in the place of your weeks? The X or the Y? Look at your graph. Which one stands for X? Weeks or money? Weeks.
Time.
Yeah, that's right here. Your weeks, your time in weeks is right there. That's your X. So if you want to know something after 7 weeks, could we plug a 7 in for the X? And that would tell us the amount of money that we have. So we would go Y equals 20 times 7. And if we calculate that, we can calculate how much money, because in this case, our money is the Y. We can calculate how much money we will have saved after 7 weeks. Well, 20 times 7 is 140. And add that to the 120 you start with, and you have $260 saved after 7 weeks. Do we have enough money after 7 weeks to buy the bike? How much was the bike? $250. Do we have enough money after 7 weeks? We do. So we're good. All right. What I want you to take away from this is, and you don't have to write this down, just kind of listen to me as I talk through it. In the equation, y equals mx plus b. What are the things that you have here? Well, you have an ordered pair, right? That's an x and a y. That's this and this. You have an m, and you have a b. Miss Borden? Yes. I sure will. All right, thanks. Your FFA check is here. Just get it after class. Okay, so in an equation, y equals mx plus b, we have 4 pieces of the puzzle. We have an x and a y that are an ordered pair. We have an m and we have a b. If you are given 3 of the 4, and it doesn't matter what 3, you can always solve for the missing one. So if you're given an ordered pair and an m, you can plug those in and solve for the b. If you're given an ordered pair and the b, you can plug those in and solve for the m. And then if you're given your m and your b, and then either your x or your y, you can solve for the other one. It doesn't matter which of the 3 you're given. You can plug them in where they go, and then use a little bit of algebra to solve for the missing one. Okay, and that's kind of what we're going to do. And that's what we did here, right? We were given the weeks, and we wanted to know the money. We were given the x, so we had to solve for the y. That's what we're going to do in these next several examples, okay? All right, in example 1, which is on the next page, everybody flip there. It tells us that a skateboard ramp, it tells us that for every 9 inches of height, we have 33 inches of base, or the base is that long, okay? And if you look at the graph, for every 9 inches in height, which is your y, you have 33 inches of base, which is your x. So that means that every 9 inches you rise, you run 33. You rise 9, you run 33, which means that is your what? If I rise 9, run 33, rise 9, 133, what is that? Which is my, yes, what's the term for that? It's my which one? You've got it. Is that my M or my B? What you just said, rise over run. Is that my M or my B? B is your beginning. M, good. My M is my rise of 9 for every 33 inches it runs. Okay? Aiden, catch, because you said rise over run. Ready? Okay. Now, I always reduce if I can. These are both divisible by 3. So I'm going to reduce this, and I get my M is 3/11. From the graph, we can see that my B is what? What's my B? Micah?
It's,
0. So with that information, here's the equation. Y equals 3/11 x. Now we know it's plus 0, but we don't write it. It's this there, but it's not there. And in this particular problem, the Y is height, right? And the X is your base length. Every problem tells a story. Whether it's a graph, a story problem, an equation, whatever, everyone tells a story. In this particular one, the Y stands for height, the X stands for base length. So if they go on to ask you, right, use the equation to find the height if the base length is 110. Well, in this case, the height is the Y and the base length is the X, which means when we put the X right here, we're going to put 110 in for the X. Miss Borden? I'll let her know. Humorous? Oh, no. Poor thing. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Bye. Sorry. Okay. So they tell us the base length is 110. And in this particular problem, base length stands in place of X. So in the equation, Y equals 3/11 X, where we see an X, we can put a 110. Now, if you can't put this, Maddie, if you can't put this in your calculator, turn forward, please. Thank you. We can do this old school, right? This takes you back to 5th, 6th grade math. You can take 3/11 times 110 over 1, and you can multiply fractions. You can either multiply across the top and bottom and then reduce, or you can cross reduce first. And I don't care which way you do it, but these are both divisible by 11. And then when you multiply across the top, you get 30 times 10 is, or 3 times 10 is 30. Across the bottom, 1 times 1, so you get 30. And that's where they get Y equals 30. Okay. Write your equation. Plug in what you know, solve for what you don't know. Those are going to be your steps every single time. Find your M and B, write your equation, plug in what you know, solve for what you don't know. Okay. All right. We're going to skip this try it because I want to have plenty of time to do your homework with you. But we are going to do this one. Okay. All right. So this is a different triangle. And in this case, they tell us about this triangle. They tell us that for every 3 inches in height, we get 15 inches long. So that means we're going to write an M, right? Whoops, nope. That means we need an M and we need a B. Okay, somebody that hasn't answered yet, what's my M on this one? Somebody that hasn't gotten candy yet. What's my M? It tells you the rise over the run. Casey, what is it? That's part of it. The slope is always rise over run. It's 2 numbers. The sentence that I highlighted, what did that tell you? Okay, but which one goes where? Good. And then that reduces to what? 1/5. Casey, you ready? Beautiful. All right. So we know our M. So if you read through this little thingy here.
You're at 450.
Oh, okay. Sorry. How do I get rid of that? There we go. If you read through the little blurb there, it says the slope of the function is, well, we just figured it out. It's 1/5. So when we write the equation, it's Y equals 1/5 X. Okay. It says if the base length, right here, if the base length is 110, what is the height? Well, if our equation is y equals 1/5 x, right? That's the equation we've got. Where would I plug the base length in? For the y or for the x? Olivia? In this problem, is base length that they give you, is that the x or the y? Yep, right here. Look, it says right there, base length is your x. So when they give you the base length of 110, that's your x. Okay, so in our equation, in place of the x, I'm going to put 110. Okay, so y equals 1/5 times 110. And again, I'm going to come out to the side if I need to, and I'm going to take a 1/5 times 110. I'm going to cross reduce. 5 goes into 110 how many times? Somebody punch it in their calculator. Eli, punch that in your calculator. 110 divided by 5. 22. Good. So in this case, y equals 22. So go back up here to the boxes. If the base length is 110, the height is 22 because the height is the y. What was my b in this case? 0. So if I was to graph it, I would start at my b of 0, and I would go up 1/5. Now, again, I don't like going up 1/5 because my graph goes by 3. But before I reduced my slope, was it 3 to 15? So could I go up 3/15? I like going up 3 because that lines up with the boxes. So up 3/15. Okay. If I wanted to do that again, I could go up 3 again over 15 again. You could do that as many times as you want, but that gives you a nice straight line. Okay. All right. In example 2, still asking you to write an equation, but they're giving you a little bit different information at the beginning. They're telling you that the cost to manufacture 5 toys is $17.50. Now, we don't see it like this, but we could write this as an ordered pair. The x of 5 gives you the y of $17.50, right? If you make 5 toys, it costs $17.50. If you make 10 toys, it costs $30. So even though it doesn't jump out at you as an ordered pair, those 2 bits of information are 2 coordinates, okay? An x and a y. Now, they don't give you, you always need an m, you always need a b, but all you're given is 2 points. But with 2 points, we can always find the m. And if you don't remember this, make yourself a little note to find the m, right? It's your change in y over your change in x, or another way of looking at it is your y2 minus your y1. How do your y's change? Or how do your x's change? What does that require? That requires 2 points, right? It requires an x and a y and an x and a y. What were we given here? We were given 2 points. So to find your slope, and I'm not going to rewrite it because they've already written it. I'll just highlight it in a color here. Your slope is your change in y. So 30 minus 17.5 over your change in x, or 10 minus 5. And that's where they get 2.5 over 1. Okay, so that means that the m, or the constant rate of change, which is our m, the constant rate of change here is 2.5. Mrs. Borden? Okay, thanks. Dayton, the counselor needs to see you downstairs. So that is our m, right? Because that's our constant rate of change. That means every 1 toy costs $2.50. Okay? With that information, and I'm just going to write it above here, this is y equals mx plus b. And I don't know the b, but I now know the m because I figured it right here. 2.5, that's your m, so that goes in place of the m. And the x and the y. Does it matter which of these 2 I pick? Both of these are points with our function. This is an x, this is a y. This is an x, this is a y. It doesn't matter which one you pick. I personally like this one only because it's not a decimal. So I would use that as my x and y. And that means that, look here, you've got your X right here is 10. So that means your X needs to be a 10. You've got your Y right here was a 30. That means in your equation where there was a Y, you're going to plug a 30. And then it just takes the algebra part of it. Okay. If you've got 2.5 times 10, that's 25. And then to solve for B, again, we've done this, right? We want to get that 25 moved. So we're going to minus it from this side and minus it from that side. And that's where they get right here, B equals 30 minus 25 is 5. That's where they get the B equals 5. And with an M and a B now, right? We found our M to be 2.5. We found our B to be 5. With that information right here, you can write the equation in Y equals MX plus B. Okay, look at what they give you. Find what you can, solve for what you don't know. Okay, plug in what you know, solve for what you don't know. All right, I am going to skip that try it because I want to make sure we have plenty of time here. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because we have done this already. To write an equation, you need an M and a B. Just look at your graph, right? Remember what your M is. Here's your y-intercept. Your M is simply, where does your line start at the y-intercept? So your 10 is your B. Okay, you can find your slope by picking two good points. If I pick this one and this one, I fall 2, which is a -2, over my run of 2. And so that is -1. From a graph, you don't have to do much math. You just have to use what your knowledge of the graph is. Where's your B? Find your M by your fall over your run. So my M was -1 and my B was 10. Okay, I pulled that from the graph. With that, and I want to write it both ways because I want you guys to get used to seeing it both ways. Y equals -x or -1x plus 10, right? That's my M and my B. But I want you to get used to seeing it this way. Do these two mean the same thing? They do. What you have to get used to is when it's not there, there is a 1 there. You just don't write it most of the time. Okay? But that's your final equation from the graph. Honestly, writing equations from graphs is probably one of the easier ones because you just look for your M and your B from the graph. You don't really have to do a whole lot of actual adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, that kind of thing. All right, let's do it on this one. We need an M and we need a B. Somebody that hasn't answered yet, tell me what my B is. Hasn't answered yet.
Paisley Nelson is the offensive lead. Paisley Nelson is the offensive lead.
My B is 1. Maddie, what's my M? Not quite. It's from here to here. How much is that a rise of? Think about what this number is. So how much do we rise? Okay, and then our run is from here to here, which is running from here to here, which is a run of what? There we go. So our equation, or our final answer here, would be y equals 1 over 10x plus 1. So pretty easy to write an equation from a graph, okay? Find your M and your B just based on what we know so far. Okay, we're going to skip ahead to the homework, and we're going to work these together. And we're just going to get through as many as we can. I'm calling it homework, but you're actually not going to have to finish it at home. We're going to do what we can do together in class. Tomorrow we'll start class by finishing this, and then you'll finish class by doing the quick Math Excel, and then we'll ride into the Thanksgiving holiday with no homework, okay? So no homework this week at all. I know, right? We like it.
I think that calls for another great gallery.
Do you? I'll have one. Thanks. You're welcome. All right. Number 7 says a line passes through the points 419 and 924. Write a linear function in the form of y equals mx plus b. So we know right off the bat, we're going to need an m and a b. So look for what they give you. Do they give you the m and the b? Just kind of like blatantly give it to you. They don't here. All they give you is 2 points. But what can we find with 2 points?
Then it'd be
Yeah, not quite. Just with the 2 points, what can we find?
you see slope.
Yeah, you're right, the M, the slope. With 2 points, we can find the slope. Because remember that 2 points, this is an X and a Y, right? X1, Y1. Right over here is X2, Y2. So we're actually given everything that we need to find slope. So what is slope? Slope is your change in Y. So it's 24 minus 19. That's what goes on top. Because that's your change in Y. 24 minus 19.
Paisley Nelson to the office to leave. Paisley Nelson to the office to leave.
Change in Y over your change in X. So 9 minus 4. So what is our slope here? What's 24 minus 19, everybody? 5 over 9 minus 4, which reduces to, all right, there's our M. Okay, we can always find M with 2 points. We're not given a B, but we now have an M, and we have 2 points to choose from. So of the 4 missing, do we have 3 of the 4? Whoops. We don't have a B, but do we have an M, an X, and a Y? We have an M, right? Right here. Okay. How about the X and Y? Do we have an X and Y? Okay, which one do you want to use? Doesn't matter. You'll get the same B either way. Okay, we're going to use 924. Remember, that's an X. And that's a Y. So in our equation, the Y is a 24. Everybody see where I'm getting that? In this point, the Y is a 24. So in our equation, in spot of the Y, I'm going to put a 24. Okay, in the point that we're using, the X is a 9. So in our equation, in the X spot, we're going to put a 9. The longest bell. I don't know B, but that's okay. I have 3 of the 4, so I can find B. So we have 24 equals, what's 1 times 9? 9 plus B. All right, somebody that hasn't answered yet, how am I going to solve for B? What's my step? Somebody that hasn't answered yet. Dalton, what's my step? Yes, I want to get B by itself. So I subtract 9 from both sides, and I get B equals 24 minus 9. Ready to catch, Dalton? Perfect. 24 minus 9 is what? What is it?
5.
15. All right, so my B is 15. Am I done? Am I ready to move on to the next question? I got to write my equation because the actual question that this problem asks is to write a linear function in y equals mx plus b. So my final answer is going to be y equals 1x plus 15. And then I'm even going to clean it up a little bit and just write x plus 15 because that's really the cleaner way to write it. Okay. Go with what they give you. Find what you can. Take what you know, plug it in, solve for what you don't know. All right, let's move on to number 8. Okay, what is the linear function in y equals mx plus b? So right off the bat, I'm going to tell myself I need an m and a b. Okay. And hopefully you guys can tell based on the amount of work that it takes to do these, that tomorrow when we do the math Excel, you will have to have paper and you will have to turn it in. I know we've had a few in a row that have been kind of easy and we haven't really needed work paper, but tomorrow's will. So if you're absent tomorrow and you do it at home, please, please, please save your work paper, bring it in on Monday or take a picture of it and email it to me. Either way works for me, okay? All right. Need an M, need a B. Look at what they give you and fill in what we can to start with. What do you guys think? Somebody that hasn't answered yet. First of all, do they give me the M? Just straight up, like, give it to me. No. Do they give me the B? What do you guys think? Do they give me the B? Okay. Why? Because they give me the what? Good. They give me the y-intercept, which means that is the b. So the b in this case is 2.5 because they just straight up give it to us. We don't even have to do math to work for it. Now they don't give us the m and they don't give us 2 points. So we can't do it using the slope formula, but because they do give us an x and a y, and we now have a b, do we know 3 of the 4? We do. So we can take our equation, y equals mx plus b. Now let's plug in what we know. Do we know the y? We do, right there. Negative 4.25 equals, do we know the m? Nope, that's what we're trying to find. Do we know the x? Yep, we get it right here. And do we know the b? Yes, right there. So plus 2.5. So again, we know 3 of the 4. If you know 3 of the 4, you can always solve for the missing one. All right. To solve this, you could take the step of cleaning it up a little bit if you want. It wouldn't hurt anything. So let's just clean this up. And here's what I mean. M times 4.5, we normally see it like this. You don't have to do this step of rearranging the m and the 4.5 because it doesn't really change your next step. So solving for m, what's the first thing that I'm going to do?
Subtract 4.5.
I can't subtract 4.5 because it's attached to the m with multiplication. Yeah, I'm going to break off that plus 2.5. That's an easy thing to move right away because it doesn't take addition and subtract, or it doesn't take multiplication and division. So I'm going to minus 2.5. If I do it to one side, remember I have to do it to both. And if it helps to put a 0 there just to keep your decimals lined up, that's not a bad thing. So when I reduce the right side of this equation, all that's left is 4.5m, which is good. How about when I reduce the left side? How would I reduce those two? Anybody that hasn't answered yet want to take a stab at it? Negative 4.25 minus 2.5. Think, dig a hole, dig deeper. How deep are you? Eli. Beautiful. Negative 6.75. Have you gotten candy yet? I didn't think so. All right. Very nice. All right. What's my next step? Somebody that hasn't answered yet. What's my next step to solve for m? Hasn't gotten candy yet. Hasn't gotten candy. Have you gotten candy? All right. What do I do? Yeah, divide it by 4.5 on both sides. And the reason I do that is because that's attached with multiplication, so I break it loose with division. And whatever I do to one side, I do to the other. Are you ready? I'm going to try not to hit my projector. Sorry, it was a little short. I was trying to avoid my projector. All right, Jacob, put that in your calculator. Tell me what the answer is. I try it one more time. You should get it's negative 1 point something, but it shouldn't be repeating. Perfect. All right. So my m, I'm going to come over here and plug it in now that I found it, is negative 1.5. Now I'm not done because what's the actual problem ask me to do? What's the linear function in y equals mx plus b? So I do need to come back. Finding space is a problem. I'll do it right above it. These take a little bit of room on the paper. So if you need to ever add paper and staple it into your workbook, you can do that. But my actual answer using my m and my b here is y equals negative 1.5x plus 2.5. That's using my m and my b that I found. So each problem is going to be a little bit different. If you're given 2 points, find your slope first, then plug in to find your b. In this case, we were given our b, and a point so we could plug in and find our slope. So it's just a matter of figuring out what information they give you, what can you get from it, filling in your M and your B, and then once you have 3 of the 4, you can always solve for that missing 4th one. Okay, let's jump down to number 10. It says at time t equals 0, water begins to drip. What does that first sentence tell us? At time of 0, water begins to drip out of a pipe into an empty bucket. Somebody that hasn't answered yet? I'm gonna give everybody a chance first. All right, Brady, what do you think? Tells me my beginning is what? Is that what you said? Okay, what's my beginning here? 0. At time of 0, right, water begins dripping out of a pipe into an empty bucket. So at the start of our problem, our time is 0, our bucket's empty, everything is sitting at 0. So we know our B is 0. After 56 minutes, 8 inches of water are in the bucket. What linear function in the form of y equals mx plus b represents the amount of water in inches, W, in the bucket after t minutes? Now, notice this is like last week. They don't want you to use x and y. They want you to use W and T. But what do we know that W and T will stand in the gap for? What do you think? What's T going to stand for? X or Y? Olivia? What do you think? Yeah, our T is going to stand for our X and our W is going to stand for our Y. Now, what I'm going to do, because my brain is so ingrained in y equals mx plus b, I'm going to do this in y equals mx plus b. And then at the very end, I'm going to go in and switch the W and the T out just to make my life easier. Okay, because if I start doing W and T, and over here, I'm doing D and T, and here I'm doing C and T. That to me mixes up in my brain. So I'm going to stick with what I know until the very end, and then I'm going to swap out the W and the T, all right? So let's work with this. What do we know about the change? After 56 minutes, we get 8 inches of water. So think about what this means, right? For every minute, our water is going to rise in the bucket a certain amount. And we know that it's going to rise after 56 minutes, the water is going to rise a total of 8 inches. Maddie, what do you think? What's our slope here? Well, we have to set it up as a fraction, and we always want our fraction to be our rise over our run. And if we know that our T in minutes, we know that our minutes is our run, that's our x-axis. What does that make our rise? The inches of water. So what would my fraction look like if I put my inches in water over my time in minutes? 8 over 56, good. And I will tell you, when I first did this, I put 56 over 8, just a knee-jerk reaction. You think bigger number on top? You have to watch which one is which, okay? So we had 8 inches of water in 56 minutes. So let's reduce this, and it's going to be what? 1 over 7. So it says, what is the linear form in y equals mx plus b? So I'm going to go ahead and write it using y and x first. So my equation is going to be y equals 1 over 7, because that's my m, x plus 0, right? That's kind of my, this is just my work I'm showing. Now, my final answer, they've told me that they want me to use W in place of Y and T in place of X. So for my final answer, when I clean this up, instead of writing the letter Y, I'm going to write the word W. My slope is 1/7. And in place of the letter X, I'm actually going to put T for time, which makes sense because in our case, T almost always equals time, doesn't it? So we're used to time being X, but in this case, they actually want us to use the letter T and not the letter X. Do I need to put plus 0 on the end? No, it's there, but it's not there. It's cleaned up version. This is your final answer. Okay. How about number 11? Number 11 is actually a lot easier because we don't even have to do a lot of math. Okay? Always, always, always. This should be on every single problem you ever do on these. I need to see an M equals and a B equals. Let's look at our graph. Think about what these points mean, but halfway between 4 and 8 is what? 6. All right, so what is our, I'll do it over here just so I don't have to keep moving. Okay, somebody that hasn't answered yet. Kiara, what's my B here? B is where it begins. Yes, perfect. My B is 7. Good. Okay, now I'm going to fill in some gaps here. Halfway between 8 and 10, or 8 and 12 is 10, because this looks like another good point here. Has everybody answered now? Is there anybody that I haven't gotten a piece of candy thrown to? SE, you almost missed it. Look at you hiding back there. What's my M? From one good point to another, I rise from 7 to 10, which is a rise of what? What? If I rise from 7 up to 10, how much do I rise? No, what's 7 minus 10, or 10 minus 7? 3, good. And what's my run? 1, good. So again, I've got my M is 3, my B is 7. I'm going to start out with my comfort zone. Corbin? Dang it. You answered a question though, didn't you? I didn't throw you candy? You guys got to keep me honest. Make me throw you candy when you answer a question. You answered a question too, didn't you? You have answered multiple questions. You just don't trust me. Kiara, you ready? I'm going along. Oh, I'm sorry. That was kind of a fastball. I apologize. No, I'm giving everybody one piece of candy, and then after that, I just appreciate you answering questions. What? We're doing it together. You'll have to go back and watch the video to fill in what you missed. Okay? That's why I record. All right. Has everybody gotten a piece of candy? Okay. Now, I'm going to start with my comfort zone of y equals mx plus b, and then I'm going to actually do what the problem tells me to do. All right? So, y equals my m and then my b. But if I enter that in Math Excel, it's going to tell me not quite. How come? What's this problem tell me to use? C and T. I know that the C is the total cost, right? So that's my Y after so many hours. So I'm going to rewrite this using a C in place of the Y and a T in place of the X, just so that I make the writers of this book very happy, okay? And if you're ever not sure which one is your Y and which one is your X, always remember that your X is your input and your Y is your output. So would you go into this? It says the graph linear represents the cost of renting a kayak, okay? Most of the time, you're going to go up to the window and you're going to say, I want to rent a kayak for 3 hours. That's my input, right? How much do I owe you? That's my output. Very, very seldom do people walk up to the window and say, I have $20. How long can I have a kayak, right? So think about, based on the problem, which one is the one that you're going to input information in. And then the cost, almost always, guys, I will tell you this, almost always your cost is almost always your output, okay? Very seldom do I walk into Walmart, walk up to the desk and hand the customer service $24 and say, okay, pick groceries for me. What can I get? It's not usually how it works. Usually I pick the ingredients, the X's, and then the output is always the cost. So almost always your cost is going to be your output, okay? And your output's always your Y. All right. How are we doing on time? We have time for, let's see what this one is. Let's look at number 12. An online clothing company sells custom sweatshirts. The company charges $6.50 for each sweatshirt and a flat fee of $3.99 for shipping. First, we're going to write an equation, right? That's what it wants us to do first. Write a linear function. Well, we know to do that, we need an M, we need a B. Of the given information, which one is the M or the one that's going to change each sweatshirt, and which one is the B or the flat rate? There's your hint. Which one's my B? Right off the bat, before you do anything, no matter how many sweatshirts you buy, what's your initial value? Micah?
650.
That's each sweatshirt. That's the one that's going to change.
Oh, 390 or
$3.99
399.
is your B, because that is the amount that you're going to pay no matter what. Then each sweatshirt, you're going to pay $6.50. Right? That's the one that's going to change each sweatshirt. So in this case, our sweatshirts are our X's, right? Because each sweatshirt you buy, you're going to go up $6.50, $6.50, $6.50. So our equation is your total amount you spend, cost, and this even tells you use Y, which is nice. We like that. Cost in Y, so our cost in dollars is going to be $6.50 per, and they tell you X sweatshirt, so per sweatshirt plus the beginning $3.99 flat fee. Okay, that's our equation, so that answers A. It says, describe how the linear function would change if the shipping charge applied to each sweatshirt. Okay, let's think through this. If the shipping charge went up each sweatshirt as well, that means for every sweatshirt, you're going to pay what? $6.50 plus that $3.99. If every single sweatshirt costs $6.50 and every single sweatshirt got charged a shipping fee, how much would you actually pay for every single sweatshirt? What is it? $10.49. So the function would then, if that's each sweatshirt, your function would be your total cost would be $10.49 each sweatshirt. So it would look a little different, wouldn't it? Okay, I'm going to throw something at you real quick. Based on A, based on this right here. I want you guys to all tell me, how much is it going to cost to buy 4 sweatshirts? Everybody go off to the side here. Tell me, how much is it going to cost for 4 sweatshirts? Using Y equals 650 X plus $3.99. $26 even? Are we sure? 650 times 4 sweatshirts. What'd you get? Anybody else get that? What'd you get? Everybody got that? 650 times 4 plus $3.99. I got $29.99. No. I said using A. Yeah, using A. 650 times 4 equals $26 plus the $3.99 in shipping is, let me write the right answer in here so that it's on the video, is $29.99. All right, guys, that is it. For those of you at home, this is all you need to do. We will do the rest tomorrow.